Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the House, honorable judges, and audience. The motion before us today is this House believes that feminism has done more harm than good to women's causes. First of all, I'm going to start with the definition of this motion. Okay, by feminism, we mean an organized modern movement that searches for the social and cultural equality between men and women. By has done more harm than good, we mean that it has created more and bigger social problems than the inequality that it has solved. And women's causes are a better acceptance of women on society. And with this I want to clarify that all women want this, but it doesn't mean that all of them are feminists. Okay, and now I'm going to say the problem with this motion. That is that nowadays in society we are seeing an alarming and steady backtrack on the goals that feminism has achieved. And this is causing a greater division in society. The issue is whether feminism has created a bigger distance between men and women than before. Okay, now I'm going to set the team line that we are going to follow in this debate, which is, don't blame the reasons, blame the ways. Okay, my argument will be the point of view of men with this motion, and my second speaker will talk about the point of view of women. Okay, now to start with my argument. Men. Okay, I'm going to divide it into 3 levels of analysis. First, the discrimination that feminism is causing towards men. Second, how this creates fear to men, how this makes men to have fear. And third, how feminism is burying men's problems. Okay, now I'm going to start with the discrimination that feminism is causing towards men. Okay, nowadays feminism leads women to interpret normal everyday life behaviors from men as signs of aggression. What used to be a simple look, now it's interpreted as a sexual advance. While an unintended physical contact is now interpreted as grabbing. And this has gone too far. For example, in 2013, feminists of USA made a list of more than 100 words that couldn't be used by men because they were offensive towards women. Yes, only words that were offensive towards women. And Beyoncé, for example, participated in this and added the word bossy. So now we've reached the point that men can't use certain words near women. And bossy is one of the many words that men can't use because women feel offended with these words. And so denied. So in consequence, men are discriminated and as dangerous and threatening individuals by doing simple things of everyday life. Okay, now I'm going to start with my second point of the argument, which is men's fear. Well, nowadays men are terrified. Why? Because around women they don't know how to act. They fear that their actions will be misinterpreted as aggressive behaviors. And so they become paralyzed and inhibited around women. So, as I said before, as simple looks or words can make a woman be offended, then men don't know how to act or what to say near women. Because, yes?
It is not the words that offend the women, it's what they do, what they are. Their actions, if they're abused.
Okay, I understand, but why would they ban their words and not the meaning of them? They are just banning 100 or more words like bossy. Now men can't say the word bossy to refer to a girl or near women. Sorry, denied. So men are afraid that somehow unconsciously they will hurt or offend women with these words. And all of this was created by the messages that feminism is transmitting. And now I'm going to start with my third part of the argument, which is how feminism is burying men's problems. Okay, nowadays feminism has created a society that focuses more on the women's problems than on the men. For example, on the TV we see all the time cases of women getting raped. I'm not saying that this should happen. Of course, it shouldn't happen, and it's not a good thing. But what about the gay rapists? What about men getting raped? And what about women raping men? It's 12% of rapes happen to men, and in the TV we never see rapes to men because our society is focused on women. So for all these reasons, and more than my second and third speaker will say, we think that this motion should and will definitely stand. Thank you.
Here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this debate. Today we're going to discuss the motion, this House believes that feminism has done more harm than good to women's cause. I would like to accept the definitions given by Team Proposition, but I would like to clarify that feminism is a political, social, or economic movement aimed at establishing equal rights and legal protection for women. And for start my speech, I will begin with repeating some points Team Proposition said. I will continue by delivering the first and second argument, which are our voice, that refers to the social accomplishments of feminism movement, and our choice, who talks about the economical and the political accomplishments of the feminist movement, and my second speaker will deliver the third argument, which is our fight, and talks about the good feminism has done and the good feminism will continue doing. Okay, first of all, Team Proposition said in the first argument that the words that the men were afraid of saying words so as not to offend women, but what we don't see is that's not the problem here. The problem here is not what they are saying. The problem is what they are doing, what men are doing to women. That is abuse. They are abusing of them. Also, they said that the society is now is focused on women's problems. But that's not true. I mean, it is focused on their problems because they are the victims of those problems. They are the ones that are suffering from those problems. And also, they said that they only focused in the raping towards the women, and they ask about raping towards men. But are any raping towards men? Do you think that?
What's the information?
Don't you think that there are plenty more raping towards women? Okay. To begin with my first argument, which is our choice. Feminists now fight for equal rights for men and women and have given a voice to millions of women throughout the years.
Information.
Accepted.
When we're mentioning the equal rights towards men and women, don't you think the 12% of rapes towards men should be recognized just as much as women's rapes?
Yes, I do, but in this motion we're talking about the feminists towards women's cause. We're not actually talking about men.
Information.
Denied. Continuing with my argument.
Information.
Denied. What has the feminist movement done to help women socially? Well, feminists fought for the right of education of women. When they were in the years past, women couldn't even go to college, couldn't even study, and feminism helped these women and made them go to school. They could go to an education. A good example here is Malala, for example. She couldn't go to education, and then when she got the possibility to go to school, she encouraged young women to stand up for their education. And she even said, I don't want to be remembered as a girl who was shot. I want to be remembered to the girl who stood up for her education. And also, feminism gave women the possibility to work, because women couldn't even work in the past years. They would stay at home every day and they couldn't do anything. Also, they taught women how to fight for their right to choose where to get married or not, because they couldn't choose if they wanted to spend their life with that man. They just had to spend their life with that man. And also, they fought for the right to protect the women and girls from child and sexual abuse. For example, from 1995 to 2010, the domestic violence declined by 63%, and that is a proper example of feminists, that we know that feminists has acted here, because we can see that there is a decrease. And well, moving on to my second argument, our choice. Feminist movements developed into 3 different waves, and in the first wave we had the women's suffrage, which is the right to vote for the women. Women couldn't even vote it. They couldn't choose by whom to be represented by. Now the Vatican City is and the Middle East countries are the only countries that are fully and exclusively denied the women's vote, so they cannot even choose who to be represented by. Also, women couldn't represent politically. They couldn't even run for office. And also, feminism made an economic improvements. For example, women, when they were when they were working and they got pregnant, they couldn't even get a license. They had to keep on working. They couldn't take some time off because if not, they would be they would be fired. And well, also there is a historic difference between the salaries perceived by women and by men for the same work, because we can see here that feminism has interacted in these salaries. And because of these two arguments, we believe this motion must and will fall, and we stand by the phrase, we cannot all succeed when half of us are left behind. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the House and our opposition. Let me remind you the motion today, which is, this House believes that feminism has done more harm than good to women's cause. Our issue is whether feminism has created a bigger distance between men and women than before. Our team line is, don't blame the reasons, blame the ways. My argument is going to be women. It's going to be divided by victimization, fear, and discrimination. I would first like to start with some refutation about the opposition's case. I would like to start talking about the voting about women. The women who made other women vote were feminists. They were suffragists. The opposition said it. They don't count as feminists because they never said that they were feminists. They always said suffragists. The only thing they actually did was making women vote. That's it. They weren't feminists. Also, the thing about the Vatican and the Middle East is about religion. There are Chavism in society because the religion says we can discuss about the religion. That's another debate. It doesn't count either. We also want to say that we're talking about the modern movement. We're talking about the nowadays feminism. What is happening nowadays? That's why we want to focus on what's happening nowadays. Accept it.
Actually, we're not talking about nowadays. We're talking about that feminism has done more harm than good.
Okay, but we define feminism as a modern movement, and you accept our definition. So yes, we're talking that nowadays feminism is creating a bigger gap than has fixed somehow. Of course, for example, the Second World War, when women had to work in the factories, the gap got smaller than before. But nowadays, the feminism is getting the gap bigger again. This is linked with our arguments.
Much of information.
Accepted.
So trying to search for equality is actually making it bigger. How is that?
Yes, because even though you're trying to search for equality, the way you're doing it is not correct. It is linked with our team line. It's not the reason. Don't blame the reasons. The reasons are correct. We support your reasons. We blame the way you're doing it. For example, this is linked with our arguments, which starts with the victimization. Women want to be more accepted in society, but with the example of the 100 words list, how are you going to do it? You're prohibiting men and other women to say words. You're limiting them. You're limiting their free speech. You can say certain words that are from our everyday vocabulary because you may offend women. You may offend them because a feminist says that you may offend them. You can say them in front of another woman. It is nonsense. I mean, you can say the word sweetie. You can say the word bossy. You can say the word feisty. I mean, how? They are everyday vocabulary we use. Why wouldn't they deny it? Why couldn't we use it? Plus, by saying that women may get offended with this, you're victimizing them, because you're making them look as what they shouldn't be looked. You're making them look as fragile and sensitive. That's the opposite of what feminism is trying to get. Feminism was equality, but how are you going to make equality if you're prohibiting men to talk? That doesn't make sense. Plus, is there any list for men? Have you ever asked for a man if he gets offended with words? No, you've never had it. That's inequality, denied, that feminism has created. Also, fear. Women are scared nowadays. Why? Because of the victimization. Why? Because of feminism. Feminists put in their heads how they're victims, how they shouldn't trust in men because they're the enemy. So you're victims and you can't trust them. So when you're walking on the street, you're on fear that a man would hurt you, that would say or do something that would hurt you. And in defensive touch, as the first speaker said, we shouldn't be living like that. It wasn't like that before, but now it is. Also, discrimination. Nowadays, housewives or many women who are considered to get dressed as provocative are being offended by feminists. Why? Because feminist people say that they're offending them. They're offending their ideas. Why? A woman has the right of do what she wants. If she wants to be a housewife, she has the right of being a housewife. If she wants to dress how she wants to dress, well, let her do it. She has the rights. But feminism says, oh no, you can do that because you're opposing to what we believe. You are opposing to what we are trying to do. That's not true. You're oppressing women to do what they deserve to do. Ladies and gentlemen, for all these reasons and much more that are going to be given, we believe this motion should and must definitely stand. Thank you.
Feminism isn't about making women stronger. Women are already strong. It's about changing the way the world perceives that strength. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The motion before us today is this House believes that feminism has done more harm than good to women's cause. As a second speaker for team opposition, I'm going to start refuting some things that the team proposition said. After that, I'm going to develop the third argument, which is our fight. And after that, I'm going to make a summary about arguments 1 and 2, which were developed by my first speaker. The second speaker for the team proposition said that that women are physical. That there's a bigger gap between men and women nowadays, and that is that women look to be better than men. Women are physically and mentally weaker than men, and we are accepted.
How can you defend women's rights when you're accepting that we're weaker than men?
That's where I was going. That women, as are weaker than men, they need rights. They need more rights, and that's we are looking at the equality of gender. We are looking at the equality of rights.
What's the information?
Denied. And also the second
We have information.
denied. For the proposition said that a woman can choose to be a housewife.
One of the information.
Denied. That a woman can choose to be a housewife if she wants. We aren't saying that she cannot be a housewife because that's against feminism. We are saying that she can be more than a housewife, that she can be a lawyer, she can be a judge, and that she can be a doctor. Things that in the 19th century, for example, weren't even accepted.
What's the information?
Denied. And another thing that team opposition said is that women may get offended, but we aren't talking about offend, we're talking about hurt. Now I'll continue with my argument, which is called Our Fight. The feminist movement has done so much, but there is still a lot to do, and that's why we still need feminism. There is not one country in the world where women can expect to receive the right to have an equal pay as men, and the right to make decisions about their own body and what they wear, and the right to have equal political representatives. And that's why we think that there is still so much that needs to be done. And as regards education, women still don't have the rights of education in a lot of places. 64 million women are denied education worldwide, and we complain society for this because we say, okay, you're going to get married anyway, and your husband is going to help you. And this also leads us to the fact that 7 million women are married before 18. This is also another problem as
What's the information?
accepted.
These old examples haven't been solved by feminism. Plus, what if it's a matter of religion? Feminism can affect that country's being there.
I agree with you, but I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about society and how we perceive the woman's strength and how it's society
What's the information?
denied. And as regards political aspects, women in the Middle East countries cannot run for political office. This is a huge problem. You're underestimating women. You're saying that she cannot do the same job as a man. And women participation in formal politics is really low. And the mirror representation, which is relationships between women in politics and population of women, it's also really low. Now I'm going to summarize the first and second argument that were developed by first speaker. She said that we thought that women achieved. They fought for the right of education, as she gave the example of Malaria, and more women were able to work. And they also fought against domestic violence. As you can see, there was a Nuna Menos campaign, and there were also, and she also mentioned, and I'm going to mention some role models, like, for example, Jane Austen. She wrote at a time that women weren't considered as writers, and she's really a great example. And all this has been done, and there's still a lot to be done, and that's why we stand by the phrase, we cannot all succeed when half of us are left behind.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the House, honorable opposition and audience. Let me start by reminding you today that our motion is feminism has done more harm than good to women's causes. This is very important throughout the debate because we have to understand that what we're trying to prove here, that our burden of proof is whether feminism has done more harm than good. It is not whether the good things that feminism has done, which are not to vote, because women's vote was not done by feminism. And I'm going to continue on by fitting some points and summarizing the proposition's debate. First, for refutation. I want to review the first point said by the first speaker of opposition. That was, we have to raise strong women, we have to be strong women, and we have to be something like strong women. Yet, how can we have an opposition presenting that we have to be strong women, that we have to be strong women, when they are accepting that women are weaker than men? This is just a huge contradiction, because when we're seeing an opposition saying that women are weaker than men, and we as a proposition accept that we're different, but we're not weaker. We want equality. We want equality for both sexes. Denied. We want equality for both sexes. Yet, how can we have an opposition accepting that we want equality when, as the second speaker came up here and said, yet women are weaker than men. That's how it is. We're not weaker. Accept it.
You are not accepting the truth. Women are physically and mentally weaker than men.
Yet this is where the opposition has got their facts wrong. Women are different than men. Women have the ability to give birth, yet we're not weaker. We're not in any way weaker. We have the same strength and we have the ability to give birth. And for that, we don't have to be considered weaker. We just have to be considered different. And yet, feminism wants the equality for both sexes. When we're mentioned that we're weaker, how can we want equality when we have to understand that the opposition is saying we're weaker? And also, I want to make emphasis on the thing that was said that it's not the words that hurt us, it's the acts, the actions. Yet, we're talking about a list of words that men cannot say, just in case women take offense on them. And this goes to the argument. This goes to the argument where women are taught to be victimized. In 1945, women were taught to be strong. Women were taught they could do it. They could be strong women and do what they wanted. Yet today, we have an opposition presenting that we're weaker. And an opposition presented that it's not the words of men that hurt us, it's the acts. Yet I want to make emphasis on this list of 100 words that cannot be said by men because of the offense on women. Have you asked men if any words offend them? I don't think so. And that is what feminism stands for. It stands for equality. Denied. I'm going to continue by saying that the Middle East countries and the Vatican are out of question because of the religious reasons. We cannot talk about the Vatican or the Middle East regions because of the whole religious acceptance.
Which is why if these countries are out of religion, how many countries are that cannot vote? Almost none.
I understand your point. Yet, when we're talking about these countries that were presented as a point for the opposition, we cannot talk about them and the reason to vote because these countries have a very religious influence. That is why these countries are out of question. I also want to talk about the misunderstanding that the opposition has presented us, which was a line that we cannot all be strong. when some of us are left behind. Yet we cannot all succeed if some of us are left behind. Yet how can we succeed when 12% of the rapes that are men's rapes are left behind and never mentioned, never talked about, tabooed and denied, tabooed and thought of as an existence? Denied. I'm going to continue by making a summary of our case. The proposition today has presented you with men, that's a line of argument, and women, that's another line of argument, with 3 lines of analysis in each of them. Men are discriminated by this because you have not asked men for the equality they want. You have not asked men which words hurt them, and yet you have asked women which words have hurt them, and banned men from saying them. Fear. Today, men are scared that they will be wrongly accused of rape, wrongly accused of saying something that will offend a woman, and rape cannot be proved. That's what we're saying today. There are cases of wrongly accused rape that men go to jail because of this. And this is not okay today because we're fighting for the equality of the sexes. We're not fighting for women to be victimized. And it's burying men's causes. And to women, it's victimizing them. You're teaching them the opposite of what they were taught in 1945, which was you can be strong. Today you're teaching them that if something affects them, if something offends them, they have to be victimized and be weaker because of this. And that is why we're not blaming the cause, we're blaming the reasons, the way. We're not blaming the cause, we're blaming the way. And that is why, for many other reasons, this motion must definitely stand.
A woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here as the third speaker of Team Opposition to hear the motion. This House believes that feminism has done more harm than good to women's cause. I will divide my speech into 3 points of clash that have surfaced throughout this debate. The first point of clash is violence. The second point of clash is the ways, and the third point of clash is what feminism stands for. I will start with my first point of clash, that is violence. They still talking about rapes and men rapes. The motion says to women's cause. You can't add points for men if the motion says women's cause. Also, the 100 words on feminism that the United States. You can also say words that hurt men or black people in front of them, and they didn't say that. You can't say denied. You can't say like black in front of a black people in the United States, and it's understandable. It's also for respect to the other gender and people.
Point of information.
Absolutely.
So for respect towards women, we should not say Aussie.
If they feel hurt because of that word, it's for respect. I will start with my second point of clash, that is the ways. Here in Argentina, there are many Protestants that did here also in Mar del Plata and in Buenos Aires and all around the country to defend women's rights. And that is a form that they want to do because they think that that people are they listen to that way. And they do it because they want rights and they want to be equal to the gender. They want equality of the genders. And now I will start by my third.
What's the information? You keep on saying things of the movement, Una Menos, but you know what Una Menos did to the Catholic people in order to call for attention?
Yes, I know that, but that was only one in all around the country.
What's the information?
That was only one in all around the country, and they did that because they feel like they feel insecure and they feel like they don't have the same equality as men. I will start with my third point of clash, that is what feminism stands for. They keep saying the ways and the methods. Feminism doesn't ask men what they want to do, what they want, but that is what feminism wants, to the equality of genders. Not only the equality of men and women, the equality of men and women.
Point of information.
Absolutely.
Then why do you say that women are weaker than men mentally?
Because women are in fact weaker and mentally than men. You can compare a physical appearance of a man than a physical appearance of a woman in the same. And also it creates fear. why would feminism create fear if they want equality of gender? They want to women be protected. They want men to protect women. They want respect between genders. And also, they say that women are victimized. Women in fact are more raped than men. And that is why
Point of information.
and that is why they want equality. Also, they want equality between genders, and they also said that if a woman considers a maternity license, why would a man wouldn't consider paternity license? But that isn't accounted by the team proposition. So because we have proven that the feminist movement has done more good than harm in our three arguments, we believe this motion must fall, and we stand by the friends. We can't all succeed if half of us are left behind.
Women's rights are human rights. Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to remind you the motion, which is this House believes that feminism has done more harm than good to women's cause. I would like to clarify that it's women's cause because team proposition only presented the bad things that it did to men, but we're talking about specifically about the women's cause. I would like to divide my reply speech into two main questions. The first of all is, did it make the society better? And the second, do we have more equality now? First of all, did it make the society better? Team proposition said that it didn't make the society better because it enlarged the gap between men and women. And they also said because there are some words we can say. But we actually believe that it did make the society better because there were a lot of women who could get an education. There were a lot of women who were able to work because before feminism, people couldn't even go to work. And also, with feminism, people could fight for domestic violence. And so, when feminism started, 63% of domestic violence declined. So we can see here a clear example of feminism, that feminism has intervened in the society and it actually make it better. And our second question, do we have more equality? We do have more equality now, but team proposition said we do not have more equality because it enlarged the gap between men and women. They said it again. But we actually think that it didn't enlarge the gap, it actually made it smaller because feminism's aim is to look for the equality between men and women, and that is what we're doing. It did a great job in the past and will continue doing in the future, which is why we believe that feminism should continue and we should make women stronger, as we said before. And also, now we can have more rights, as I said, that we have education, we have increased the level of domestic violence, of abuse in the street, and also Lady Rowling, for example, she was a woman that she couldn't say her name. She had to say another name because if not, the society would take her as bad. So, which is why we believe that feminism has done more harm than good to women's cause, and will continue doing. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, once again, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start with the reply speech. The opposition has not made clear examples, has not given real facts. They only mention things, but they haven't really proved if they really happened or not. I mean, yes, voting, that's not feminism, that's from suffragists. Also, yes, education and everything, but we're talking about the modern movement as we have defined it, as the opposition has clearly accepted our definition. We're talking how the modern movement has enlarged a gap. Then they said, yeah, probably this happens, but there's 64 million students women that don't study. But what has the feminism done for them? That's just saying that women can study, which is, of course, it's bad. It's not okay, but feminism has done anything for them? No, it hasn't. Also, they keep saying how women should be stronger, they should be taught that they're really, they have a chance, and then they say that women are weaker mentally, which is nonsense because they're clearly contradicting themselves. I mean, you keep saying, oh yes, you could be as good as men are, you can be in the same position, you should have the same salary. How can you do that if you're weaker mentally, if you don't have the same if you're not capable enough like a man is? They're contradicting themselves, they're contradicting what feminism stands for, etc. We want to clarify that the proposition, us, have throughout the debate, all of the debates, said that feminism is something very good, but we're not blaming the reasons feminism has. We're blaming the way it is expressed. We're blaming what they're doing, which is not represent correctly what they stand for. We have done it with victimization. They are making look themselves, they're making feel themselves weaker. We have presented on the argument women. Plus, we have talked about women. They said we haven't. We said our argument was literally called women. We made a whole argument about that, and we kept on saying how feminism is not accepting that they're not properly doing what they should, they're not properly doing what they stand for. Also, not accepting the fact that what feminism is doing harms men, which harms the possibility of women getting accepted in society, getting better accepted in society, is still nonsense. The opposition hasn't really understood any of our points because we have talked about women and we have talked that yes, feminism have done good things, but what they have done, the bad things, were even bigger and made a bigger gap than the one they had fixed. Ladies and gentlemen, for these reasons, we believe this motion shouldn't stand.